Hey, 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 how are you doing today? Welcome to another week of the Kingdom Builders Credit Repair TV show and podcast. We are so excited that you are here today. Thank you for watching. Listen, let's just go ahead and subscribe while you're here. If this is your first time watching, my name is Michelle Green, aka KB Michelle Green, and the KB stands for Kingdom Builders because we are a Kingdom Builders empire. That's right. We are Kingdom Builders Credit Repair, and we have several other companies that is under the umbrella of Kingdom Builders. But listen, thank you for watching. If this is your first time, you are in for a treat because we are getting ready to talk about part 2 of student loans today. The student loan setup. 2 plans, but one trap. Yes, 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 yes. So, listen, before we get into the actual message, we like to give a shout out for the platforms that we stream on. So we are here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, Twitter, we're all over social media, but our core streaming foundation is the CTR Media Network. And we want you guys to know that if you're looking for a place to get your message out, you need to go over to www.ctrmedianetwork.com. They only have 3.6 billion viewers, and they are in over 175 countries. So we always like to give that shameless plug that we are streaming through a network that streams throughout the entire world. And that's why this is so important for you to lock in now so that you will never ever miss another episode of Kingdom Builders Credit Repair with, hey, me, Michelle Green, KB Michelle Green. That's right. So, let's get into the actual message. And again, we like to make sure that everybody that's watching understands that this is a show that talks about credit and talks about finances. And you never know what we're going to talk about every week. So let's go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That's right. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure that you're ready to leave a comment and that you're going to put a heart out there somewhere throughout this message to let us know that we're doing a good job in teaching you about credit and finances. Okay, we like to have that feedback. There's nothing wrong with a little feedback, is there? Okay, but anywho, our thing that we really want you to know and understand is fully about credit. We want you to understand about credit and finances, but we have a whole separate course that we have established called the Financial Dominion Masterclass. That's right. The official Financial Dominion Masterclass is going on actually right now, and we do have new students that are coming through for the next semester coming up in July. That's right. So if you want to get prepared to get your finances in order, which is totally separate from your credit, you want to go ahead to kingdombuilderscreditrepair.com and go ahead and get signed up so we can prepare for you to come into the next semester class of the Financial Dominion Masterclass. But as we relate to the topic of credit, we want you to know that credit is something that you really don't have the money for right now. You might be working on the job, you might be working in your business, however, you're receiving your income right now, but maybe you don't make enough to pay for the things that you need or the things that you want. So, what is credit? The ability for you to be able to borrow the money from a bank or a financial institution of any sort. So it could be the place where you have your checking and savings account. It could be a place where you're saving money. Wherever you are investing money, that can be considered a financial institution that may lend you money that you don't have today that you can pay back over time in installments. So we always like to start there because we know that everybody doesn't really understand how this whole credit works, and we don't really understand it because there's not a lot of people out here that are explaining it, and we are here to fulfill that that problem. Okay, we're here to answer that question for you. All right. So now that we know what credit is, we understand that we all are going to have something, no matter who we are, no matter what age we are. We can start out at the age of 18. We can start out at the end of our life, which would be 70s, 80s, 90s, or even 100s. And we still are going to need credit at some point in time because it is something that is up there with oxygen. Is up there with the air that we breathe. Okay. So we want to understand that regardless of who we are and where we are definitely going to need to obtain credit at some point in time throughout our life. Okay. So now that we got that out of the way, we wanted to continue on with the conversation about student loans that we talked about last week. So I'm just going to do a quick recap so that we will understand what last week was about, just in case you're watching for the first time and you didn't hear last week's message. But you can always go back to Kingdom Builders Credit Repair on YouTube and watch the entire episode. It's only 30 minutes and it is packed with information that you're going to need for the future. Okay, so let's start with the fact that there is some changes that are coming down the line as of July the 1st of 2026. The new changes concerning student loans are that every student loan will now be transferred from the Department of Education, are you ready? Drum roll, please. To the U.S. Treasury. That's right. The government is now going to be taking over the student loan debt, which means for us, it is possibly a negative for the majority of people who have student loan debt. And that means it's negative because what will happen is with the transfer, that means that you no longer have the option of a company that is established specifically for student loans to handle your student loan payback. So how are you going to pay back your student loan debt is going to matter as of July the 1st of 2026. That's right. Just in a couple of months, we are getting ready to go through a major shift with student loan debt. Now, under the umbrella of student loans, one of the things that we learned about last week was that we have student loans that are going to break down from the income-based repayment plan to two options. That's going to be the standard plan and what we call the repayment assistance plan. So we're going to have the standard plan and the repayment assistance plan, and that will be our only two options going forward to obtain student loan debt from the U.S. Treasury. Okay, so let's just ponder on that for a second. And then secondly, we learn about how some of these plans are going to work. So last week I talked a lot about the limitations that we are going to have around the student loan debt. So if someone is interested in getting their income looked at to determine if they can pay back their student loans, then that means that you're probably going to have to choose the repayment assistance plan. Okay, that's called the RAP plan if you're taking notes. Now, the RAP plan is specifically for people who have a situation with their income. They cannot necessarily pay back the full amount of debt all at one time or in a shorter period of time. And I'm going to get into how the standard plan works versus the repayment assistance plan in just a minute. But I want to recap so that we will understand. Under the new laws, we are going to, under the U.S. Treasury, as we go into that student loan debt, we are actually going to have to limit the amount of money that we can borrow. So if you are a graduate of any kind, if you are a graduate, then that means that you will only be able to borrow a certain amount of money for the year and even for the entirety of your student loan education. So if you are trying to, or if you're used to borrowing a student loan and not paying it back per se, but using or living off of the money that you receive from the student loan debt, which I know we all do. I know we all have at some point in time. If we had some extra money left over from student loan debt, we have actually used that for our personal finances or our personal credit, right? I understand. We have all had situations where we needed some extra money, and that's not going to change. But the thing that is going to change is our ability to be able to borrow the money from the US government after July 2026. So, as of July 2026, if you are a graduate, that means if you're going to school for an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and even a master's degree, if it's not a professional degree, then you are going to be limited to borrowing $20,500 for the year, and you can only go up to $100,000 for the entirety of the lifetime. So let's think about for a second, how much of student loan debt have you already accrued? Let's think about for a second, how are you going to pay down the debt that you already have? Not considering that if you need to continue your education, how are you going to pay for that if it's coming from the US Treasury, which is our government in the United States of America? Oh my goodness. All right. And the second point that I want to make from last week is that if you are a professional, so if you are graduating with a professional degree such as a attorney or a medical degree, which means that you're going to school to get your doctorates, or you're going to school to get your PhD, which is pretty much the same thing. But you have to be in a profession that is a professional profession in order for you to get an extension of your yearly student loan amount. So if you are going to school only in the area of a profession and you're going up to the level of getting a professional degree of a doctorate or even a master's, as long as it's a professional, then you will be limited to $50,000 a year, or a $200,000 of the entirety of the lifetime of your student loan debt. Now, that is a huge impact because I already see the credit every single day, and the average person already has $150,000 of student loan debt already. So we are already indebted to student loans. So I want you to understand that what we are getting ready to encounter as we go into the new laws that have dropped or getting ready to drop by July the 1st of 2026 is not going to be very easy for you to just go and borrow money for student loan education. All right, so let's get into today's topic before time is up, because you know I can talk a lot. But anywho, the point about the two different plans that we have that are really setting us up for a trap. Now, I just explained part of the whole package of student loans, but the package of the income based repayment plan, which is now called the repayment assistance plan, or RAP, is how this will work. And the things that I just explained about the amount of money you can borrow for the year versus the amount of money you can borrow for the entirety of your education is also going to apply for the standard plan. But here is the difference with the standard plan. The standard plan is set up for those who are not based on income. So the first thing that's going to roll out that's going to significantly change everybody's life with student loan debt is if you go to school to get an education and you do get a loan, or you currently have a student loan, you will not necessarily immediately go into the income-based repayment type option. So you will not automatically be transferred into the repayment assistance plan. So that means that you're going to have to ask for the plan, and you are going to have to go through the paperwork that it needs to be taken care of for you to obtain the RAP plan. Now, if you are receiving the standard plan, it literally means that your student loans will have to be paid back based on, and make sure you're writing this down and you are listening with an open ear. You will have to pay the student loan back based on the balance that you owe. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Listen. However much money you owe altogether on all of the student loan debt that you have is now going to be based on how much money you have to pay back for your student loan debt. So let's say, for example, you do owe $100,000 of student loan debt. Then that means that they are going to calculate between 5 to 10% of that balance and make you pay that back per month. Every 30 days, I ain't talking about in a year, I'm talking about in every 30 days, there will be an amount of money that they are calculating off of the total debt that you owe that you will have to pay back every month, not based on your income, not based on if you have a disability and you're receiving a disability check, not based on if you are over the age of retirement and you are retired, not based on if you are a veteran or based on if you have some type of situation with your money coming in and it's kind of funny. Okay, not based on any of those things. So now we have to face the fact that whatever our balances are with our student loan debt, we are going to have to figure out how we can pay back the student loan debt. Now, here is the big kicker of the whole equation. The whole equation basically is leading up to a trap. And that trap is that by the student loans all being transferred from the U.S. Department of Education over to the U.S. Treasury, it literally means that if you default on the student loans, which means if you do not pay the student loan debt back like you are supposed to, like the terms and conditions that you're getting ready to sign after July the 1st of 2026, if you sign the paperwork, and yes, even if you don't sign the paperwork, it's still going to apply because you already previously had the signature from the previous loans that you had. I had someone ask that question earlier this week. If you didn't agree or you didn't sign for something, but they got your signature from a previous account or from a previous term and condition of the company who used to have the account, then it's still that you are liable, because in the fine print of every contract agreement, every term and condition, whether it is credit, whether it is finances, anytime you sign your John Hancock, okay, anytime you sign your name, you are agreeing to whatever's in the fine print. And every contract says that if they have to transfer the current company over to a new company or a new organization, then you are giving them permission to do so and still be held accountable for the debt. That also applies as whenever you decide that you cannot pay a debt, when you cannot pay the item that you agreed to with credit, then when you decide that you can't pay it and it goes past due after 180 days, that's 6 months out of the year, then it automatically defaults to a collection account. So when we're talking about the student loan debts defaulting, we're talking about the fact that you have not paid on your student loan debt in 6 months consecutively, which equals that after the 6 months after July the 1st, and the transfer happens, you will either have your wages garnished. So wherever you're working, wherever source of income that you're receiving, the government is going to begin to force you to pay back the student loan debt from whatever income you're receiving. Okay? And that can be up to 10% of whatever your paycheck is. Okay, so we aren't talking about a small amount of money, people. We are talking about a large amount of money that possibly, if you decide that you don't want to pay attention to what we're talking about with the student loan debt, and you're just going to continue to ignore it like we've been doing for the past umpteen years that we've had the student loan education. Maybe we got a loan, which would be a parent plus loan for one of our kids or our grandchildren. Maybe we got a loan for ourselves so we could go back to school, but we just haven't been paying attention to our renewal period. We haven't been paying attention to when we're supposed to pay the money back. And what is going to happen is that we are going to have our wages garnished. And in addition to wage garnishment, under the new laws as of July the 1st, we're also going to be in a situation where if we are receiving any money back from the government at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, or during tax season, we are going to have those refund checks also seized. In other words, they're going to take the money that you're getting back from your refund. They're going to take that money and put it towards your student loan payments. Okay, so let's get into a couple of other things that are coming down the pipeline. How long is the standard plan going to require for you to pay back the loan? The standard plan is only going to be available for 10 years. Okay, did you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? 10 years is the timeline that you will automatically have when this transfers from the Department of Education to the U.S. Treasury. You will have 10 years to pay off the total balance of your student loan debt. So 10 years is not a long time. So if you owe $100,000, then you would take that $100,000 and you will have to calculate that by what? You will have to calculate that by 120 years, because 10 years times 12 is 120 months. I'm sorry, not years, 120 months. So we are talking about how long would it take you to pay off $100,000 of debt with the 120 months. That means that your monthly payments is probably going to run anywhere from 500, I would say even as low as 300, depending on how much debt you owe in student loans, to maybe $1,000 or even $2,000 every 30 days. So you really want to pay attention to what is coming out of my mouth. You really want to go to check on your student loans. So here is a solution to what you can do right now. Right now, you should be contacting every one of your student loan service providers. You need to know exactly who you have a student loan with, what is the actual balance, and what are the options for you right now to consolidate all of the student loans into one lump sum. That's very important for you, because if you have individual loans, a lot of us don't realize that when we go to school, every semester or every quarter breaks down on your credit report separately as a different loan from the loan that you're going to school for now or as you finish. So in other words, if you went to school for, let's say, 3 times throughout the year, 3 semesters, I mean, not 3 semesters, 3 quarters throughout the year. Let's say you went to school for 3 quarters throughout the year. So every quarter will have its own student loan balance. That's right. You are not being calculated based on the entire year you went to school. Your loans on your credit report are individualized, and each one can accrue interest. That's also another thing that's happening under the new regulations. The new laws say that there will no longer be the option to delay your interest on the student loan debt. So now the interest rates are going to start accruing so that you will have to pay the student loan balance, which is your principal balance, in addition to the interest of your student loan debt. Oh my gosh. Listen, y'all, this is some super duper types of changes that are getting ready to happen, and it's going to impact us financially in a very serious way. So if you do not go and figure out how many student loans you have, who are the student loans providers to make sure you're not missing anybody, making sure that you understand what type of options you currently have to make sure those student loans are in position to be transferred either to the standard plan, which is based on your balance, not your income, or the RAP, the repayment assistance plan, which is based on your income, but you would have to pay on that based on a 5 to 10% of your income. Okay, so it's still going to be a larger amount than what we are used to paying. It will not be where anybody will have a zero balance of not being able to pay on their loans anymore. Okay, so we got to understand that we're going to be accruing the interest. We're going to have to pay the loans back. So, what we can do right now is to consolidate all of the student loan debt through FAFSA. That's the financial aid assistance program that you originally signed up with when you first got your student loans. Contact FAFSA. You can look FAFSA up on ChatGPT or Google. You can find out their direct number, and FAFSA will give you the information, all the details of every single loan that you have, and it will give you all the details on how to contact the proper department so you can ask for a student loan consolidation. A student loan consolidation is going to allow you to put all those loans into one lump sum so that when everything does transfer, you're not getting penalized for not paying on one of the loans or two or three or 10. Because if they remain individualized when they transfer, they're still going to be individualized. So you would have to set up a payment plan under either the standard plan or the RAP repayment assistance plan. You will have to set up one of the plans for every loan that you have if you don't consolidate. So please reach out to FAFSA. If you already know who your student loans are through, contact the student loan department now before the transfer happens on July the 1st so that you can make sure that you are in the proper position to make sure that those loans are all taken care of. Okay? All right. Listen. If you need further assistance with the student loan situation, then you want to go to www.kingdombuilderscreditrepair.com, and I want you to put your information in the little section that says Let's Talk. And if you want to just give us a call, just be in direct and just say, hey, listen, Michelle, I need to talk to you today. Listen, go ahead to 844-522-7552 right now on your phone and call us, and we will be happy to talk to you about your particular student loan situation. We don't just handle student loans, we handle mortgages, we handle every type of credit, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a department store card, whether it is a vehicle loan, a personal loan, whether it is a mortgage, whatever it is. Kingdom Builders Credit Repair, we have been doing business for over 30 plus years. So we have seen a lot of things that have happened throughout the years with credit and with finances. And as a financial strategist, educator, and advisor, I can help you in so many different arenas as it relates to your money. So what are you waiting for? You don't need to hesitate and wait another second. Make sure that you contact us. Get into our Kingdom Builders Credit Repair program so that we can handle your credit and advise you on these student loans or any other type of credit. And also engage into our masterclass. The original Financial Dominion Masterclass is going on every 6 months. And right now we have classes. We have a couple of open spots if you still want to come in, where you can come in and learn how to manage your money so that when you get to your credit, you have enough money to take care of all the things on your credit, and you're not struggling to eat. You're not struggling to keep the lights on. You're not struggling to keep the water bill paid and the sewage bill paid, or to put clothes on your back or your kids' back. You have the option to come into the official Financial Dominion Masterclass and learn about not just money, but taxes and how to position yourself for wealth, building a trust, setting up investments and savings accounts. We teach you all of these things here at Kingdom Builders Credit Repair. So make sure you connect with us. Make sure you're collaborating with us. Make sure that you are locked into this YouTube channel, and wherever you're watching, make sure that you let us know how you have learned some valuable information from KBCR and Michelle Green, aka KB Michelle Green. Thank you all for watching again today. We will see you next Friday from 12:30 to 1. And until then, you guys take care. Take care. Bye-bye.